Oh, you got my slides up? Here we go. You can go to the next one. And the next one. I took a briefing that I've given to the AG. Took an hour long. I should tell you, one of my jobs in the Air Force, I was running an office, and we created a 600-slide briefing for some generals. So I'm into this briefing thing. We're going to show you what we did in 2007, what we're doing this year next. 2007, we had a lot of flying hours. As was stated earlier, we are sixth in the nation, and we do that by flying a lot, obviously. 262 hours per aircraft. That does not include the Nebraska airplane that we helped them and gave them some hours on. The national average was 195. Our numbers are slightly different. I'm not sure. Mine was right off the so I'm not sure where yours came. We had 6 real search and rescues last year. We had an Air Force evaluation that we got a staff on. It's tough to get an excellent if you're not allowed to fly because of the weather. Otherwise, I think we'd have taken an excellent. Next slide. Oh, here we go. Flooding. We were doing last year. We had a major flood in Aberdeen, South Dakota, that almost the entire town was underwater. The James River, which flows through there, as well as half the state, was flooding. Next slide. We've gotten involved in wildland fire, and you can see a picture there. And this, I think, you'll see in the Volunteer magazine coming out soon. I'll talk a little bit about that in the future. Pennington County Disaster Exercise at a school. They were going to fly a drone over it to simulate a chemical attack, but it ended up being a simulated drone. There is a crash in the U of that school, in the bottom of the U. There's a crashed helicopter there. Hard to see. Next slide. We played with the National Guard every year. I think we're in our 4th year this year. That kicks off in about 2 weeks. National Guard does a big training exercise out in the Black Hills. And we are simulating that we're a drone providing reconnaissance floats. And we provide that to their intelligence folks, and they love it. Next slide. We had a counter-drug evaluation last year. We received a SAT on. We had 8 training exercises around the state. Ground team school, and our fire missions. Under the fire missions, we were asked to sit alert status last year for the first time, something new. We're flying their air attack airplane. They put a qualified fire supervisor, they call him an air attack, on the plane, and he directs the tankers onto their fire targets. And we're flying that for the state. And it's an interesting robot where we have to sit alert, which our pilots don't like. We're the only ones in the entire building of the whole fire outfit that weren't getting paid. This year the state's going to pay us to do it, just to sit. And we're also doing fire spotting after thunderstorms. Next. For the state, we also are doing animal tracking. Last year was actually down a little bit with about 250 hours. Disaster support, the flooding and such was 80 hours. Air National Guard, we flew 25 hours. And that was low-level route surveys. Army National Guard was the training exercise in the Black Hills. Missouri River was a consortium doing a survey of filming the entire Missouri River within South Dakota. That was a corporate mission. We did some orientation flights for local officials like emergency managers and such, and some county support to their exercises. Total 397 hours for the state specifically, and that was a 10% increase over the previous year. And 27% of our total flying. That's where our flying's come from. Next slide. Overall, we can break that down. We've got the state sorties, the search and rescue, the SAR, orientation rides, and just pilot proficiency, and there's a lot of that, as you can see, too. 5.5 hours, or 5.5 aircraft total, thanks to Kansas for giving us an airplane halfway through the year. And then National took it away. And then we got another one. Next slide. Cadet activities. Our drill team was ranked first in the region last year and went off to national. We did 60 hours orientation flights, and that also included ROTC flights. And let's see, cadet flight training. We've got 4 students doing flight training, and I think they're going to hit solo here soon. Hopefully we're ready for it. Not shown on the slide, we had a spots cadet last year. After 3 years in CAP, and at 15 years old, she made spots. Pretty proud of her. Only the second female in South Dakota to get that also. Encampment last year was the joint North Dakota South Dakota encampment. Probably one of our larger ones in recent history with 160 attendees. And we work with the Starbase. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's a National Guard program where they bring students in from the schools, fourth graders. They're a little young to be CAP members yet, but it gets them an orientation. And as part of the Starbase program, we show them our aircraft and they get to sit in the airplane. And that works also hand in hand with recruiting aerospace education teachers out of that program. Next slide. A new mission this last year, we flew some air defense. The Sioux Falls Guard picked up an air defense role, something they'd never done. Air defense, they've always been bomb droppers. And so intercepting targets is not something they do for a living. Of course, all pilots have a little basic understanding of that. So we went out and became targets for them. And against that white snow on the ground, the CP airplane, it's mostly white, looks really tough to find. And it was much more challenging than they thought it would be. Next slide. Also, we picked up a low-level route survey from Ellsworth Air Force Base. We did that about 10 years ago, and then they went to private contractors for a while because they had people on the base who said, gee, I'll bet if I go fly with that contractor, I can get the flying time instead of CAP. So we lost it for a while, we captured it back. Junior ROTC, we had the money authorized for 3 based at $100 per, so that's 2 months. We don't cost that much. Maybe some areas of the country. So we've flown 4 so far, with 2 more scheduled, keeping it still in the budget. Our average cost of $172 with gas currently about $56, not $100. Fly a Teacher program, 14 new members just this year, and 2 of them have already converted to regular members within CAP. And we've flown 6 of them, with 2 more being flown this morning. If you haven't heard, National has run out of money for that program, so we're just going to fund it ourselves and keep flying. Next slide. Low-level route surveys we're doing for the Guard and for Ellsworth. One of the things we do, we take photos of the stuff and give those photos to them after the fact. And they really appreciate that. It's something they've not seen before. We also have a GPS along, and we give them the track of what we flew on the mission as well, and they like that. Next slide. Our membership numbers. This was as of February, and just as of the email yesterday, we have this, in April we're still at 339. So slight increase in membership itself. Next slide, I think, is the finish. Any questions? Thank you.